Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We're glad to have you here for today's Drive for the Cure 250 presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield. Before we get to Chase Elliott's media availability, we've got a quick announcement to make. Each year, Charlotte Motor Speedway is honored to present the Smokey Unique Award. It is a Lifetime Achievement Award that we present to someone who came from humble beginnings and made a major impact on motorsports. So first, to see a little bit about the man whose this award is named after, please take a look at the screens.
Henry Smokey Unique was one of NASCAR's biggest personalities during the formative years of stock car. Beginnings to make a lasting impact on the motorsports industry. Unique passed away in 2001, and the Speedway has continued to present the award annually to honor his memory.
And now to announce this year's recipient of the Smokey Unique Award, I'd like to welcome our Executive Vice President and General Manager, Greg Walter.
Thanks, Scott. You know, as Scott said earlier, it's a Lifetime Achievement Award from someone who made a significant contribution to the sport from humble beginnings. This award over his 27 years has honored people like Bud Moore, Bill Simpson, Jim Hunter, Roger Penske, Ray Evernham, and many, many more. But today, it's my honor on behalf of Marcus Smith, the Smith family, and our entire team here at Charlotte Motor Speedway to recognize Ernie Elliott as the recipient of the 2023 Smokey Unique Award. Recognized as the engine builder of the decade for the 1980s, Ernie's engines powered his younger brother Bill to dominating success, especially on super speedways. As an engine builder, he won 40 Cup Series races, tallied 148 top fives, 291 top tens, and 51 poles. The Melling Racing No. 9 Coors Ford run by the Elliott family captured the Winston Million in 1985 and the Winston Cup Championship in 1988. Ernie continued building engines that produced wins into this century as his horsepower carried Dodge and Sterling Marlin to victory lane here in Charlotte at 2001 in October. Ernie couldn't be with us today, but we have his nephew here to accept the award on his behalf. And just what an amazing contribution. Chase, you want to come on up? I was watching some videos about your uncle, and what struck me was his humility as well as just his passion to win. Right? He was kind of like balanced and really struck by like his humble beginnings and how though he built this incredible dynasty. Tell me a little bit about your uncle.
Yeah, well, this is to me a very deserving award. I've seen and talked to Uncle Ernie quite a lot, and he's always just a good person to talk to post race. He's he pays a lot of attention. He doesn't like to admit that he pays a lot of attention, but he does, and has been a great supporter of mine over the years. I have a ton of respect for him, and just the innovation that he brought at the time period that he did. He was so far ahead of the curve in so many different ways, as he was, not only building engines, but, working on the cars, but, just his, back then it wasn't like they had engineering and software to go through these things. A lot of it was trial and error, and you just had to have some of these things scienced out and do it on your own, and he just kind of did it his way, and he was a smart, and still is extremely smart. I've learned a ton from him, but just the innovation and how far ahead of everyone else he was at the time. I'm not sure everyone really understands. But a couple weeks ago he had the Winston Million engine just like it came out of the car at the shop, and one of their engines from the Daytona 500, and they were sitting there, and I had never seen them in person. This just happened a couple weeks ago, and they were sitting out at the shop, and I think they had been in a museum somewhere. And I walked in, and I asked him, what are those from? He told me. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. He started telling me a lot about it, and just some of the little things. I don't want to speak for him. He can tell some of those stories if if he wants to, but just some of the detail that went into those builds and just how impressed I was with the smarts and just the innovation and whatnot it's incredible. So I encourage everybody, if you ever have an opportunity to talk to him or listen to some of those stories, he has a lot of stories to tell, and it's definitely worth listening to. So I know that he's grateful and appreciative of the award. I hate he couldn't be here today.
Yeah, me too.
And hope that we can get him out to a race and honor him properly at some point.
Absolutely. Well, Scott?
Thank you, Greg. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go straight into the media availability now for Chase. Quick fact on Chase. So Chase, of course, is a two-time winner of the Bank of America ROVAL 400. And amongst all the drivers that have competed in all 5 ROVAL races so far on the Cup Series, Chase Elliott actually has the highest average finish of 8th. And of course, this year he's still competing for the Owners' Championship. So that being said, welcome, Chase. We're glad to have you here. Let's start right here on the front.
Bruce Meyer with Speed Sport. 2 quick questions. You were way too young to remember your father's 85 season, but Ernie played a key role in that. When you go and look back at, when you read about that, I mean, what do you think? Because that was one of the greatest seasons in NASCAR history by a single driver, even though he didn't win the Cup title.
Yeah, well, I wasn't born, but I have heard a lot about it, and I listened to, and that's one thing I admire, and I'm glad to see Uncle Ernie get that award because I know he has a lot of respect for Smokey. He talks about him quite a lot, and I know he just had a lot of respect for him. So, I not being there, it's so hard for me to really recognize what all was going on. But when I sit down and as I've gotten older, I really have tried to listen to a lot of these stories and really take them in because I think there's a lot of really cool stuff there that is talked about that when I was younger I probably didn't appreciate quite as much, but I certainly have grown to as time has gone on. And yeah, those years were extremely special. That they were just how they went about and how they did things was just such a departure from everybody else, and they were kind of on their own little island, but they were smart enough and they knew enough about cars and engines and driving to go and do it their own way and to be successful doing it. And I think that a lot of that stems from Uncle Ernie. Really, I mean, to me, he was kind of he was really the centerpiece of the operation. He was the older brother that was kind of making everything go, and I've always admired him for that. And just when I think about those years, I wish I was old enough to be a part of it and recognize it and appreciate it. But certainly try to do that now. I just wish I knew firsthand what some of that stuff looked like because it had to be a lot of fun, and I know it was pretty cool.
And as one of NASCAR's better road racers, the ROVAL's unique because it's really not a natural terrain road course. Is the driving skill here more similar to a street race?
Well, I've had, aside from Chicago, I've not really done any street racing, so I don't really know. But it's much different than Chicago. This place is just it's just a lot crammed into not a lot of space. Really, is kind of how it feels, like you're racing in a parking lot or something. It's just not. It's just tight, and it's hard to find a rhythm, and it's definitely unique. But we have been coming here for a few years now, so there is a little bit of normalcy, I guess, in the track and the course and everything. So it's a challenge, and it's one of those places that again, I think road racing is extremely important to find a rhythm in, and it's a hard place to do that.
Let's go to Matt.
Matt Weaver, Sports Not. Recognizing that you tend not to interject your opinions into kind of somewhat, I guess, controversial matters, the decision to have another wild card round next year in the playoffs, having Watkins Glen and Atlanta. Denny said that we're testing drivers' luck, not their skills. Do you feel one way or the other about that decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's pretty spot on, really. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I mean, obviously I don't, they don't ask my opinion, and I don't really want them to ask my opinion, but I just, I can certainly get behind what Denny said, about that, because it does put you in a tough spot, and there's just so much out of your control when you go to those speedway races, and you can put the perfect day together and end up crashed or whatever it may be. So I mean, Watkins Glen to me isn't as much of a wild card race, but certainly adding another speedway race. I mean, that Talladega round has always been, the round we're in right now has always been kind of the craziest round and the most unpredictable round, just because you don't know. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen any week, but certainly that one is a bigger question mark than others. So, yeah, I don't necessarily love that personally, but again, it's not my decision, and we're all going to have to deal with it, when it comes time. So it's kind of just there. It is at this point.
And then kind of an oddball question, but next week is the Winchester 400, a race that you've won and competed in. For race fans or just industry people who have never been to Winchester and seen how grueling and tough that place is, why is it so unique and hard?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been up there in quite a while, but my first trip up there, I think I was like 14 or 13. That was that was a lot for me to go up there. Just a high banked half-mile track, similar to a Bristol, I guess, in a lot of ways, but obviously aged, and asphalt, not concrete. So it's just a tough track and a place that can be intimidating, when you're young like that and you haven't seen a lot of tracks of that nature. And so yeah, it was a lot for me to take on at that point in time, but I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I went up there. I think I learned a lot racing at Winchester, and always admired the event. We had a few good runs up there, and would love to go back and maybe do it again someday. So looking forward to keeping up with the race next week, and see who gets it done. Yep.
All right, let's come here to the front, and then we'll come back. Okay.
Greg Engel, Forbes. You've obviously talked about the fact you're not in the playoffs this year, but you are in the playoffs because you're going for the Owners' Championship. Is it the same kind of pressure in that position for you personally as it would be if you were going for the driving championship? And if so, does that give you kind of an advantage, so to speak, that you understand how to deal with it and overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily know that it gives you an advantage by any, but I've said this multiple times throughout the, course of however many weeks we've been, 4 or 5 weeks we've been going at it, but I really don't feel any different. Like my approach each week has been just like it would have been if I was a part of the show, personally, from a driver's standpoint. So it's just really not any different. And there is a lot on the line, on the owner's side to the teams. It's a really big deal. And, thankful that between, Josh and Jordan and Corey and myself, we were able to get the car in the owner's side. And like I said, that's a meaningful thing. So I've been just as motivated for that as I would have been if I had made the driver's side. And we've enjoyed the challenge of the first few weeks, and hope that we can continue to advance through the rounds. It's a good opportunity, and there's still a lot of racing left this year, and we'd like to continue to improve like we have been, and kind of get back up in the mix. Yep.
Okay, go here.
Got it. Steven Stump, frontstretch.com. Chase, you're going for your first win of the season, but also trying to make it to the owners' round of 8. Also, in comparison to the last road courses, we have the sage cautions back again. What were your thoughts on NASCAR adding them again for this race? And is there a way to, both balance getting enough stage points while not completely sacrificing track position by the very end.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised to see him come back. We saw those races go caution free, and that's not, that's not going to fly. So, that's just part of the deal. So whether it's TV or NASCAR, or, whatever it may be, we weren't filling the quota. So that something's got to change, and I think that was the easiest way to kind of fix it. Which, to be honest, I would rather do the stage cautions than I had them throw some random cautions. So I think that's better, and I think that's a more fair way to go about it. So that being said, I think it's fine. The this time of year, getting those stage points is such a crucial thing for the guys in the points. It really makes that decision extremely tough, and it can make or break your day, right? If you have a shot to win the event, there's no way you're going to be able to take the points. Certainly not in the second stage. Probably not in the first stage in this car. So yeah, if you think you have a shot to win, and you short those stages and you give up all your stage points, and then you have a late race caution and a restart doesn't go your way, and you lose the race, and now you got no stage points and you didn't get the win, then you can be in big trouble. So it just makes for tough decisions on the box. But I don't see how, unless you're in a must-win situation, the guys that need the points, I don't see how you can give them up. And I think that, last year even we saw guys that shorted stages that were up towards the front still get some stage points, just because track position is so crucial. Everyone feels like they have to do it. So we'll see. It's always a big question mark, and fortunately I don't have to make that call.
Thank you.
Yep.
I apologize, folks. We're only going to have time for two more. We're going to go here, and then I'm going to come over to Jordan to finish.
Davey Siegel with SiriusXM. Chase, earlier in the year, you spoke about how it was tough to find a rhythm with the injury and the suspension. You guys never were able to find that. I think you got 6 top 10s in your last 8 races. Do you guys feel like that rhythm that you were lacking earlier in the year has been found now, and that's kind of part of the reason why you guys are running a little bit better consistently?
Yeah, we've. I definitely feel like we've been better, and I think we've been working in the right directions. I think I've been pushing in the right directions, maybe just not quite as much as we need to. But we've been putting together some good races, and we've been executing some good events, which is a good thing. So yeah, I definitely feel like we've improved throughout the year. Looking back on it, I really don't think that being out and my injury really is the reason for that. I think that my struggles, as I've learned more about my season and myself and how kind of things have unfolded, I feel like my struggles and the things that I fought through this year, I was starting to fight through last year too. So I really just think I kind of picked up where I left off last season, and I was going to have those things to work through regardless. So obviously that was another bump in the road that I would have rather not gone through, but yeah, it's just been, we're just working through it and trying to stay in the fight, and we'll keep doing that each week and try to make it happen.
Okay, let's finish with Jordan.
Jordan Bounke, The Athletic. Has there been a moment in your career where you've had a mistake, whether it's on the track or a pit road or wherever, and you've felt compelled to kind of put it on your shoulders to overcome it, to kind of pick, to show the guys, hey, listen, it's on me, and I'm gonna fix this?
Yeah, there's been a lot of those. Yeah, I feel like I've made a lot of mistakes over the years. I mean, this is a great example. I drove straight into the wall there on a restart, and God, I was so mad. I felt like we had a really good car, and we had a great shot at winning the race. And at that point in time, I thought I threw it away. And yeah, I wanted to do all I could do to try to get back up through there and make up for my mistake. But most of the time at this level of racing, when you make a mistake, you don't have an opportunity to make up for it. So I was fortunate that day to have enough time to be able to do something about it. But most of the time you have to wait 7 days, and that's tough. I think that's one of the toughest things about it, is you usually have to wait a week. But yeah, you always try to make up, for any mistake you make.
Have you ever given your team a pep talk or anything, or not a pep talk, but said to them, hey boys, I screwed up here, but I got this, whether it's this race or a week from now or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm sure there has been instances where that's happened, but I feel like the best way to do that is just to go and show them, hey, you know, I'm giving you 100%, and I'm trying to make up for my mistake, or I'm just to where they know that you're doing your part. I mean, that's the most important thing. If they know I'm out there giving it my all, then to me that's all you can ask for, because that's all I ask for out of them. You know, and we're all gonna mess up, and you know, you just try to be accountable for that when it does happen, and I feel like that our team does that. You know, if I make a mistake, I try to own it, and if they make a mistake, I feel like they do too. So, you know, that's just a part of competing, and everybody doing their jobs and making sure we show up each week, you know, reset and ready to go and prepared for the next challenge.
Thank you, Chase.
Yep. Thanks.